Gold Star's looking pretty exciting.
Yeah, because, I think karting, I was talking to Mike King trying to get him to come to conference, and he said, look, I only really talk about depression. And I said, well, that's why I want you there, mate. I want you to talk about issue, and I want you to talk to these people about, we don't know how valuable what we do is for kids and parents, and
Yes,
just don't know how incredibly valuable this sport is.
that's right. Oh, no, that's good. That's good. Oh, g'day, Scotty.
Scotty, Brendan's having a bit of trouble getting on. I don't know who's best to talk to him.
How are we, guys?
G'day, mate.
He's joining the Discord now. I'm helping him out at the moment.
Thanks, Travis. Okay.
Needs all the help he can get.
Yeah, sorry. I was going to say I can't see where the video and stuff is. There a link there that I can click on?
Commentators, is it?
Yeah, go into commentators.
Yep.
Should still be that Starry Manx one, shouldn't it?
Oh, yes. It's the same one from a couple weeks ago?
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
Sweet.
Evening, guys. How are you?
Brendan Gridley.
Brendan
Gridley.
This is where we all just yell at one another. Works really well.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Just be a little careful, Brendan, because sometimes they slip up and they don't turn the audio off, and it's going out live.
Yeah.
So can I watch the racing while I'm talking to you guys or not?
Yep, you can.
Yep.
Scotty,
yes, Brendan, you best listen to the voice here, and I'll tell you what to watch. If you watch it on Facebook, you'll be a lap behind.
Oh, okay.
So is it saying that... Oh, no, I've got it now. I was going to say 6 minutes away. Is that right? Okay, thank you.
What was the... Because I haven't really paid a lot of attention, apologies. What was our format tonight, fellas? Yeah, and race format?
20-minute qualifying for race 1, grid draw, and then it's 20 laps for the first race, and then second race is reverse grid with a compulsory pit stop and 30 laps.
Okay, 2 races.
Going to be here all night, cuz. Jesus. Race 30 laps for race 2.
Yep.
Reverse grid.
And it's rolling start.
Okay. Reverse grid.
Are you going to bring in? I liked your yellow, technical yellows or whatever, your safety cars. That was quite good for bunching things up. Are you going to be able to do that again? I mean, it's your call. You guys know what you're doing, but
Yeah, I reckon just tear the ears off it. I'm going to drop 3 or 4 of them.
Yeah, it's good. I like it.
fantastic. This is GT racing right now. He's got traction, he's got everything else. Both of them. Maloney. Oh, he's taking Anderson. Anderson's up top. Oh my God. Oh, big crash. Oh my goodness, half the field's going to get rolled.
It's very close. These guys are want to make their way through the field very quickly. Oh, there we go. Oh no, that's massive. This is it. This is over. I can't believe this. Oh my God.
God, what?
Carter's tires. What's stopping you?
Have you ever thought about what's stopping you? Carter's Tyres is New Zealand's largest independent tyre dealer. 100% New Zealand owned and operated, they supply tyres to the biggest trucks and to the smallest family wagons. From tractors to racing cars. From the far north to the deepest south, Carter's Tyres fit the right tyres to the right vehicle. They sell 10 brands, not just one or two. And with over 20 years in the business, you can trust their tyres are as reliable as their word.
Carter's tires. What's stopping you?
So, what's stopping you?
All right, welcome team to our next instalment of our KartSport events. We've got a 3-week race program here, brought to you by the kind folk down Tasman Kart Supplies in Nelson. There, Brendan Gridley. He's kindly come on board to help us out for the next 3 weeks with our coverage. Obviously, we've got Scotty Fountain and the team at SynSpeed bringing us this great coverage. GT3's coming from Phillip Island this evening. Their team. Tony Chambers, my name. Got David Serra joining me in the commentary box. How you going, Dave?
Yeah, really good, Tony. Really good. It's good to be back. And like I said, big thanks goes out to Brendan Gridley and his team from Tasman Karts. This 3-round GT3 Championship is going to be quite exciting for us.
Yeah, it should be great. So obviously kicking off tonight at Phillip Island, as we said in the GT3 category. From here, moving on to Spa, and then finishing our 3-week program at Monza. So we're going to be visiting some pretty exotic racetracks and driving some pretty exotic cars. Program tonight, 20 minutes qualifying. That's going to give us a grid for our first race of 20 laps. Then 30 laps for the final race tonight, and full reverse grid with a compulsory pit stop in there. So it should be a interesting night there, Dave. New cars, not a new track. We've been here before, but certainly a new formula for us.
Yeah, for sure. Look, the GT3 car is, it's got quite a lot of downforce as well. So hopefully it's quite user-friendly for a lot of the drivers. We know that Phillip Island presents a really nice racetrack, some close racing. I'm not sure how much the slipstream is going to be taking place in one of these cars, but obviously there's plenty of passing opportunities. You look at sort of down the main straight at turn 1. Obviously, he's going to turn 2 at Southern, into turn 4 at Honda. So there's quite a few opportunities that you've got to be able to pass. So we've got quite a few entrants that have joined us tonight, so it's good to see that this sim experience has been taking off over the course of this coronavirus.
Yeah, that's right. Obviously, we're sort of full steam ahead here. A number of club days have taken place over the last couple of weeks, so it's obviously good to still see a lot of support for the KartSport events, given people have actually got access to the kart tracks now. We'll talk more about sort of the club days that have been, and obviously some really well-supported events coming up very soon in the next couple of weeks as well. So, as we said, 20 minutes of qualifying. We'll let everyone sort of sort themselves out at the start. We've got obviously a new supporter this evening in Tasman Kart Supplies from Nelson. I think we've got Brendan Gridley all the way from Nelson. Are you joining us tonight there, Brendan?
Yeah, locked in tonight to watch a bit of iRacing, which is it's been successful over the course of the period in lockdown, so it's been well supported.
Yeah, excellent. We certainly appreciate your support over the next 3 weeks. Obviously, on the back end of our 8-week program with Liquid Action there, it was a really great couple of weeks there, and obviously we're getting back to the kart tracks now. But good to have your support with the next 3 weeks. It's very kind, and obviously you're spending a bit of time at the kart track yourself now that all the kart tracks are open.
Yeah, so we obviously KartSport Nelson had their first race meeting on Sunday, which was well supported by the locals. Obviously, the first day out was actually rain in the morning and it come fine. So, but it was well supported. And of course, next weekend we've got, this weekend coming up, we've got a 2-day meeting in Blenheim, which is very successful. Actually, we've got 60 entries entered so far, so they're hoping to get at least 70. So, they're looking forward to supporting the KartSport Marlborough this weekend.
Excellent, mate. Excellent. So obviously we'll have you sticking around in the back of the comm box there while we kick off at the start of the evening, and we can keep jumping back to you with any questions and stuff about how Tasman Karts is going, and obviously also the next 3 weeks there. So obviously, Dave, Phillip Island, as we said, just down the road from your hometown. Not a massive amount of events going on there at the moment, so it's good to be doing something in the not so virtual world this evening.
It does actually. Look, I'm looking outside and it's quite overcast where I am. It's getting to our night time, but Phillip Island's generally a very, very cold place. It's right near the water. Obviously, got the penguins down towards the ocean down there as well. So I've been lucky enough to race there a few times in a Formula Ford as well. Like I said, really fast and flowing racetrack. Very, very well suited to the GT3 category. Like I said, these cars need a lot of downforce as well. So by looking at the screen, we've got quite a mixture of cars. I can see some Mercedes out there, some Audis, some Porsche cars as well. So I'm not 100% sure which one's got the wood on this circuit right now, but we can see some big names at the top already with Jaden Ransley and Zane Hills and Zach Blinko. So there's some familiar names that we've been able to see over the last couple of months.
And probably the other thing of note this evening is we've actually got open setup as well too. So no fixed setups. It's actually open setup. So probably going to favour the person that's done a bit of testing and ironed out any sort of idiosyncrasies in the cars and sort of made changes to the cars that's going to suit themselves. So we sort of might see a little bit of disparity, might see a few more of those more experienced guys up ahead, but in saying that, we're still seeing those familiar names of Jaden Ransley, Zane Hills, Zach Blinko, to name just a couple of the ones that the people that we're seeing every week, Dave.
That's right. And if we go back to Brennan, mate, why don't you just tell us a little bit about what Tasman Karts do? Obviously, you've got your shop there, and what sort of brands you're selling at the moment.
Yeah, so obviously we're running the Arrow and the Sierra brands, obviously, and we've got the new the Falcon 950 from Chris Vanderdrift. So I've been pretty successful with the 3 brands, obviously, in the South Island, going very well. And obviously we've got the 4-stroke package, which is going exceptionally well with a lot of older guys joining that class. So obviously caters from young juniors from 13 right through to your retirement, which is 70, which obviously in the Blenheim Club and Nelson Club, we've got a lot of guys over 50 racing on that, and it's a lot of fun.
No, that's awesome. And obviously, we know that you're very passionate. I've raced with the Tasman Karts team previously with my experience in New Zealand as well. I know that you guys, you thrive when you're at the racetrack, and you get a bit of a kick out of it as well. So even though it's a business for you, you actually get a lot of enjoyment out of the kart racing.
Yeah, no, I love it, and of course I just like seeing the kids, win races, obviously, but have a lot of fun during the time, and it's not just on the track. It's travelling around New Zealand, having some fun with other people.
For sure. And now, I've been speaking to you as well. We're looking to get the Tasman Karts and get a new website up and running. How's that all looking for you?
Yeah, so it actually went live today, actually. So tasmankarts.nz, so that went live today. So it's great to have that on. Get that going, obviously, because everyone buys online these days. So especially when we're been in lockdown for 5 weeks.
Yeah, for sure. That's good. Oh, well, look, obviously, if anyone out there needs anything to tune up their cars before the weekend racing, be sure to visit tasmankarts.nz, as we're halfway through our qualifying for this evening's race. We've got the top 4 separated by only 1300ths of a second, which is incredibly close, considering we're lapping it at a minute 27 as well. So, familiar face at the front, Jaden Ransley, followed by Taylor Cockerton. Those two have had some serious battles over the course of the last 2 months. Zane Hills in 3rd place with Zach Blinko in 4th. And Tasman Karts' own driver from Christchurch, Isaac Fletcher in 5th, who's having a great run this evening, Tony.
Yeah, so a little over halfway. Good to see a good mixture of brands that we've got out there. As we said, I'm none the wiser as far as you are, Dave, as far as what sort of what brand is sort of working better, or the the best package to have at Phillip Island. No doubt, certainly, obviously in the non-virtual world, like what we're driving in, we'll probably find it's certainly more to do with physically the person that's sitting behind the sim, not so much the actual vehicle itself. But we do know from watching a lot of the GD stuff in Australia, certain tracks do suit certain cars. So we'll see what pops up this evening, but I guarantee it's more to do with the nut behind the wheel and what's a little bit of the setup they've got underneath them. So 9 minutes gone, as you said. Jaden Ramsey, no doubt's done a bunch of laps this week, but some really tight margins. You're very, very tight, across those top four, and then only sort of 3/10 back to Isaac Fletcher, Nathan Anderson 6/10, Daniel Harvey, just under a second behind. So as we said, the parity actually might be a little bit closer than I thought this evening, Dave.
Yeah, 100%. I was, like I said, I was expecting cars to be separated by a bigger margin, but as we know, these guys have a lot of experience in the Phillip racetrack from their previous race that we've done with the KartSport eSeries racing that we've been doing. So with 9 minutes to go, I don't know how many of those outside the top five are going to be able to jump in. Obviously, there's a bit of a variance between the top four cars compared to the rest, but I'm hoping for nice, clean, close racing.
You can see down in 21 position there, just briefly showed up, was Andrew Waite. We've got a couple of old names popping up here, which is good to see. A few Andrew Waite's certainly been quite active. Did the Le Mans 24-hour last week, if I remember rightly, with Paul Blomqvist and SVG, and they had a small little Porsche team going there. So we'll see what sort of names pop up. We might have a couple of different service running as we normally would, as we've got chase cam here on Stephen Beaumont. Big fan of the Evans livery is Stephen, so he's got the old Lighting Direct Porsche colours there. Not quite a Giltrap Group associated vehicle there on a Mercedes, so can't say that branding goes well on that vehicle. But as far as the colours go, O&M's is going to be pretty stoked about that with the old Lighting Direct colours on there. Pretty stunning looking car. Just shame about what badge is actually on it, Dave.
Yeah, do we know if Simon and the Evans group is actually sponsoring some of these cars for Stephen Beaumont? Because, like I said, he's either a very big fan or Simon Evans is flicking a bit out of the back pocket. I'm not too sure.
I reckon these Jaguar salesmen like Simon, Jaguar Land Rover salesmen, they've got big commission from their sales. So no doubt, Si's just probably washing up a bit of cash from his commission from selling cars. But as we jump on board here, well, not quite on board, but a very basic, a very Brad Still here, the Taranaki driver, running the Mercedes SLR. He's running in the real world. He's actually having a bit of a back injury, so good to see he's actually rammed himself inside his simulator tonight, and he's out there doing it and not doing too bad a job. 2 seconds off. If you ignore the margin, he's actually 15th position. So if you don't look at the margin on the right-hand side, you've got to be pretty happy with 5th, considering he's got Andrew Waite and a few decent names behind him, Dave.
Yeah, we've just seen Jaden Ramsey pop out a big lap, which is the first car into the 1 minute 26s. So now he's got an advantage of over half a second to the next three drivers, which, look, to be fair, obviously we know that the fuel loads dropped down over the course of the qualifying session. He may have got a slipstream as well. He's very experienced on the simulator as well. So he's driving the AMG car this evening, the black and green car. He's just pulled over here to start a new lap. So obviously he's been probably one of the standouts throughout the last couple of months in regards to the simulator racing that we've had.
Yeah, it was quite certainly interesting when we did our Bathurst rounds with current supercars, and we had obviously Scott McLaughlin join us, and his name eludes me now. The other young Aussie boy that
Jackson Susan Harlow.
Yeah, Jackson Susan Harlow. So obviously we had two, between Scotty and Jackson jump on board, and Jaden and a few of the other boys are actually mixing it with them. So it sort of says that our sim game over here is probably pretty strong when you get those two guys that are very experienced and got very good simulator gear as well too, that a lot of our boys actually footed them with them at that virtual Bathurst event. It was quite good to see, Dave.
Yeah, 100%. Like, it's obviously great to see the supercar drivers, and also we've had Marcus Armstrong as well, the Formula 2 driver, supporting this series as well. So really cool to see. Obviously, you guys have got some great support from the Giltrap group and the Carter's Tyres. Obviously, we've seen Liquid Action and now Tasman Kart supporting KartSport New Zealand as well through these tough times, which is really encouraging. You need the support from your local companies as well to keep it going through this hard time, as well as we, as you're saying, we're looking to get out of it now and get back to racetracks.
So as far as obviously we're very active at the moment, back to full strength club days, I suppose, if you like. How are things panning out over there with events for KA, Dave?
Yeah, so we're in Victoria. We've just had some club racing over the course of the last weekend, which was well received. We had over 120 carts at Todd Road, and quite a few numbers at the other clubs, which is really good to see. But nothing really planned outside of the club racing for now. I know that other states, because Victoria's in a bit of a bad situation at the moment, we've got a few more hotspots popping up. So other states are a bit further down the road than Victoria. But we're looking to get our Australian Championships back up and running towards September time. So hopefully some of the New Zealand drivers can come and join us again.
Yeah, most definitely. It's been certainly been murmurs amongst the sort of guys that I've got involvement with at the kart track here. They're keen to get over and race over your side of Tasman as soon as we can, and when it's as easy as possible. So we'll be keeping our ears to the ground as far as when everything can open up and back to normal, hopefully. So just over 4 minutes down there, Dave, and not too far away from a finish. Taylor Cockerton jumping up there into second place. Very experienced young karter, done a lot of actual car racing in Europe and in Asia as well too. So Taylor not only experienced in the sim format as we actually jump on board here with his Motul livery BMW there. He's done a lot of stuff in Asia and overseas. So very experienced and good to see him back in the sim seat this evening. Zane Hill's been very busy racing in various iRacing events as well too. So obviously very expected that he's going to be up there in P3. Zach Blinko as well, Isaac Fletcher, Nathan Anderson, Matthew Griffin. There's a name that we see pop up now and again. Matthew, an old KartSport Mount Wellington racer, E30 championship winner, and done some NZV at touring cars as well too. So certainly got a lot of different people coming from different motorsport backgrounds this evening, and all jumping in on board. And we'll see what we can have at the end of sort of 2.5 minutes that's going to line us up for our first race, Dave.
That's right. Obviously, look, this is when the big times start to unfold as well. So we can see quite a few different cars taking place towards the front. We can see Jaden Ramsey's in the Mercedes, Cockerton's in the BMW as well. So it's good to see a different mixture of the manufacturers out there as well. Look, obviously we know starting position is quite critical, but also at this sort of racetrack, you can pass on most corners. You can also get the slipstream as well down the straight. So I don't think it's as important as what some may say. As we can see Taylor Cockerton now getting within 400ths of a second of Jaden Ransley's 126.8 as well. So this is going to go down right to the wire to see who starts towards the inside for turn one. As we can see, a late starter's just joined us in Shane Van Gisbergen. So we've got a bit of flames coming out the back of the SVG McLaren here.
SVG, so that's so he's a very, very late comer. So we'll see what happens there. Wasn't even aware that Shane was jumping in tonight. So we'll certainly keep close eyes on him. I would imagine he probably doesn't need a massive amount of track time. He'll probably get his eye in pretty quick. And so as we jump on board here with Shane, so he's in the McLaren. Obviously he's run McLaren in the past at various endurance events overseas and in Australia, if I'm right. And straight away he's onto P3. So he's throwing a setup at it. He's just put the standard McLaren factory livery on it. And with just a little over a minute to go, Dave, we'll see what he can play out of the bag. We know he had a pretty up and down weekend at Sydney Motorsport Park last week, first round back for supercars. So we'll see what he can do in the next 60 seconds, Dave.
I think he's almost better suited to the simulator at the moment, mate. He spent plenty of time behind the computer screen as well. So no doubt he's going to be a major challenge as we head towards. He's going to have one final crack at this lap time from Jaden Ramsey as well. So he's going to see him cross the line here. He doesn't improve on his lap time as well. Oh, he does improve, but he's still in position 3. So he's going to have one last crack at trying to topple Jaden Ransley and Taylor Cockerton as well. Like I said, it's massive to have the support of Shane Van Gisbergen. We had Scott McLaughlin as well in the last couple of weeks. So really cool to see these guys supporting our kart racing scene.
He's certainly tuned her up, Dave. Like he's got he's full rich, and I haven't seen many other cars banging flames out the back. So he's obviously tuned it up for tonight, and we'll see what he can come up with. So bloody good to have Shane join us for this evening, and Scotty Fountain, who's running SimSpeed TV. No doubt you can probably see if we can get Shane in for a chat at some stage. We'll see how he's going, see if he's got his headset all sorted out there. He's depending on what tech Shane's running this evening. So as we follow him down, just tailing off the tail end of his lap here, as I think he's just heading over Lukey Heights, and he'll get down in towards the hairpin. So the last corner just coming up now. So 28.18 in his first sector. As we go through the big long left hand, it's essentially two corners, slight straight there before we get it turned in. When we come back onto the run down the main straight on the downhill run here, see what Shane can pop out, and if he can make any improvement. And no change there for Shane, bar obviously a tenth on himself. So he parks her up just at the start of turn 3. He'll go back and give himself a good stiff talking to him, I'd imagine.
Yeah, look, obviously he's come in late from all different simulator stuff he's been doing. I've seen him, what's he been doing? Some World Rallycross stuff in between the supercars. He's done some trophy trucks. They've had you New Zealand guys have been putting on your own nights as well during this period with, like I see, Earl Bamber and Chris Vanderdrift as well. So, like I said, a lot of experience behind the simulator and with the iRacing platform as well. So when it gets down to racing and the race starts, I'm sure he's going to be there fighting it out with some of New Zealand's best kart racers and car racers as well.
Yeah, he'll most definitely have his elbows out. We know Shane's a pretty tough competitor, and he wants to succeed at anything he does. I follow young Paul Blomqvist on his Twitch account quite a bit, and those boys are, along with Scotty Pye, and that are normally doing a lot of dirt rally and doing plenty of driving. So here we go, Dave. Here's our results. So, and this gives us an idea what people are driving as well too. So Jaden Ramsey, no surprise, very small margin back to Taylor Cockerton. Obviously in the BMW Z4. SVG joining us as well, just jumping and getting 2 laps into P3. Zane Hills P4, Zach Blinko P5, Isaac Fletcher there in P6. So Mercedes and BMW dominated grid at the moment. Nathan Anderson, Travis Smith, one of our admin guys here running the event. Matthew Griffin, good to see him there inside the top 10. And then Vicargill driver Cameron Freeman in P10. So looks to be a bit of a Mercedes favoured track at the moment, Dave.
Yeah, that seems to be the flavour of the month at the moment, so maybe they're on a bit of a discount. But yeah, Stephen Beaumont is in position 11, Daniel Harvey in position 12, Taylor Bryant and Mitchell Sparrow share the 7th row. Corey Green has been a big-time supporter of this series, and Leo Scott. Ashton Phipps and Brad Still, Andrew Waite and Nathan Krang running our top 20 for this evening's qualifying as well. So now we're going to roll into our 20-lap first race. We're going to have a short break soon, and then we'll get back into some racing action.
Sounds good. And yeah, a couple of Audi R8s there at the bottom of the grid. So Giltrap Group Associated Brands, McLaren and Audi. So good to see we've got a few of them scattered through the field there. So looks like we're going to head off for a very short break, and we'll be back very soon with our race 1 of 20 laps there, team. Looking forward to it. How's that, Scotty? Good job. Your mic's really quiet there, Scotty. I can hardly hear. Is it in your bum? Is it what's quiet? No, I think that's better. That's better. Much better. Much better. No, that's why are our races so? I suppose it's only a short lap, isn't it? So 20 laps.
26, yeah.
Show a tear through it pretty quick. No, that's all good. That's all good. But you're happy with that there, Scotty? That sounds all right? Sweet.
I was going to say, should be back already, but that's okay. Yeah. That's what it is.
All right, welcome back there, team, from our short commercial break. We're all getting ready for our first 20-lap race of this evening. GT3s from Phillip Island tonight, team, as we said. We've just concluded our 20-minute qualifying session, and no surprises, young Jaden Ransley has come out on top again. So, open setups this evening, team. So, obviously, everyone's allowed to play with their cars a little bit, just the setups to suit themselves, and so that could have a slight advantage. But quite a cool little surprise there at the end of qualifying. We had SVG jump on the grid, so got 2 flying laps and managed to bang himself on grid number 3 for our first 20-lap race tonight, Dave. So really looking forward to this. I certainly a track Phillip Island I enjoy in real life, so this is going to be a good old ding-dong battle there, Dave.
Yeah, for sure. We'll run through our grid as well. We've got Jaden Ransley, position 1, followed by Taylor Cochran. So those two not separated by a small margin. We've got Shane Van Gisbergen and Zane Hilscher in the second row. Zach Blinko and Arthur Browen on grid 3. Isaac Fletcher, the Christchurch driver, and Nathan Anderson on grid 4. Blake Dowdle and Travis Smith, our own. He's been sort of the man behind the scenes as well. So they're sharing the top 10 there.
So certainly a couple of big banger names as far as our KartSport events go. Jaden, Taylor, Zane, and Mitchell Sparrow. Good to see Corey Green there. Obviously back in. Corey's been here since day one. P17, he won't be too happy with that. He's going to try and move up the grid, no doubt. Back up through 11 through to 20. Matthew Griffin, Cameron Freeman, Stephen Beaumont, Daniel Harvey, Taylor Bryant, Mitchell Sparrow, Leo Scott there, 18. Aston Phipps there, the Auckland Rotax Max Junior driver, and P19, and Brad Still, the Tony Kart DVS driver from Taranaki there, and P20. Andrew Waite, obviously.
I was going to say, we've got 44 cars that are going to be joining us on the grid tonight. So, one of the biggest builds we've been able to see throughout this KartSport series as well. We've got a mixture of Mercedes. The BMW seems to be quite a big fan. SVG's running the McLaren. We've got a couple of... What were the cars at the back again? Was it the Audis at the back?
Yeah, so we've got a couple of R8s, which is good. And I think, thinking back to like Bathurst 12 hour, speaking to a few of the boys that around there, the Audi certainly had its weaknesses and its gains in places. So, and as we know, iRacing is a very accurate game, and no doubt the R8 might be struggling here a little bit, and the Mercedes getting to stretch its legs a little bit. So SVG's our sole Giltrap Group McLaren driver, if you like, there. And as you see, his livery changing as he's driving around as well too. So he's just changed to his Muzz Minion Motorsport. That's a livery that those boys between Paul Blomqvist and Andrew Wade have made quite famous, and debuted that Le Mans 24 hour and managed to win their class in the last couple of weeks. There's a horrendous story that goes along with that livery. We probably won't get into that at this stage, but it looks good, and we'll be keeping an eye on Shane's progress through the next 20 laps, Dave.
For sure. It's going to be exciting to see how he goes against these. You know, obviously we know these guys are quite heavily involved in their sim racing with Jaden Ransley and Taylor Cochran as well. As you were saying as well, Corey Green, they've been long-time supporters over the last couple of months supporting the KartSport series as well. So that's really cool to see. Phillip Island, great racetrack, suited to the GT3 racing. And it's going to be pretty interesting to see how this sort of grid unfolds as we go across to the green light soon.
So probably big differences. We've got rolling start as well too. So personally probably a favourite of mine. I think that's quite cool. Just spices it up a little bit again too. And adds in just another little bit of something, for those usuals to get used to that would normally be used to a standing start. So obviously, as we said, this evening's coverage brought to you by Tasman Karts for the next 3 weeks. Brendan Gridley there, he's just kicking around the back of the commentary box, finishing off his dinner, and we'll be dragging Brendan in now and again to get a few comments and that from him. So as we come up through the last turn here at Phillip Island, their team, SVG's Muzz Minion Motorsport McLaren's banging flames at the back. Seems to be the only one, so he's obviously got the big main jet in it. As we straighten up, come onto the main straight here, and we have got a green light. So obviously our leaders getting themselves over the left-hand side of the circuit, down into the Derwin turn. Really, really fast part of the racetrack there, Dave. and as we see people start sorting them out, you can sort of see some people's internet connection sometimes does drop them off the running list a little bit. So we'll let everyone get themselves sorted out. First couple of turns, few cars going a little bit chaotic at the start as we head down towards the hairpin. Really iconic turn here at Phillip Island, Dave.
Yeah, it looks like the old cold tyres has caught a few drivers out, unfortunately, looking at the start of race 1 here. But we can see the leading trio of drivers is Jaden Ransley, Taylor Cockerton, and it looks like it's SVG in third position as well. So those 3 drivers have cleared out. They're going to have a nice long battle ahead. We've got 19 laps remaining. They've got a nice little split to position 4 onwards. Like I said, it's quite close racing as well. But the whole rolling start had the inside row had quite a bit of an advantage heading to turn 1.
Yeah, it was. You would have thought. I sort of think we had a green light there for a while because there was such big gaps, but certainly was a big advantage for those guys in that row, and they've managed to get themselves some reasonably clean air. So we'll just sort of see. Obviously, Shane's probably done more laps around here than anyone in the real world. So we'll just sort of see how this pans out. Obviously, we'll keep an eye on the tyre dig as well. Fresh from Sydney Motorsport Park in the weekend with the supercars. Big tyre dig there that was that really influenced how that race meeting panned out. We'll talk about that a little bit more later on. But that was certainly good to see supercars back on the TV. As we jump on board here with Stephen Beaumont in the Owen Evans Lighting Direct inspired livery there. As we said, he hasn't quite got the correct badged car there for that branding, but nonetheless looks pretty impressive. Simon and Owen and Mitch should be pretty impressed. Aston Phipps, as we said, the junior Rotex driver out of Auckland, got really, really cool looking car there, the number 9 wagon. And as we head up into Siberia for the second time, and as everyone just starts to get themselves sorted out, they've been doing probably plenty of testing and plenty of practice and stuff like that, but now we're in the thick of it, actually in real race format. And as the tyre temps start to come up to temperature and everything starts to plateau a little bit, just to see how this leaderboard does pan out, Dave.
Yeah, that's right. It looks like Jaden Ransley's just opened up a small margin over Taylor Cockerton. Obviously, they've got half a second advantage as well. So we've just seen a car get turned around. It looks like old mate Taylor Bryant's just sort of barging his way through the Valvoline car there. So a little bit of front panel damage from the BMW there. But like I said, some nice hard racing between the 2 drivers and Taylor Bryant and like I said, his fellow compatriot there. So I wonder what Taylor Cockerton's thinking when he's sort of looking in his rear vision mirror and seeing SVG, the supercar champion, right in his rear vision mirror.
Yeah, he'll have the elbows out. And speaking of elbows out, I think we've got Andrew Waite on the line. Is Andrew Waite coming to have a chat in the combox?
How are you, mate?
So Andrew Waite, he's coming live and raw from Cromwell. For those of you that don't know, Andrew Waite, very experienced karts driver, done a lot of Formula car racing, a lot of GT racing, and he's the resident driving instructor at Highlands Motorsport Park. So good to have you along tonight, Andrew. Thanks for coming.
No worries. Yeah, my race is done a little early, so I thought I'd come and have a chat.
So you've already torn the corners off him, mate. What's happened? Talk us through that.
Where do I start? Yeah. Yeah, no, it didn't go too well. Just didn't get a lot of time to do much practice and qualified in the middle, and I thought it would be a miracle if I made it through, and didn't quite, so that was that really.
In saying that though, with the reverse grid format, you actually park yourself towards the front of the pack for race 2.
Yeah, that's good. Might be a bit of strategy involved in that, so I might have to see how I go in the reverse grid race. So yeah, it's a bit different in the GT cars. It was a bit of fun last week with the trucks and the other cars as well. So it's a bit of a change, a bit more involved now with setup and everything as well. So yeah, it's pretty full on.
No, well, you can just wait till SVG's finished and get a little bit of data off him and tune your wagon up for race 2 there, buddy.
No, well, he gave me a setup. We're both going to run the McLaren. Gave me a setup, and I did about 1 lap. It's quite surprising. He gives you all this stuff, but I just can't drive some of the setups that he runs. I think it's just the amount of time that he spends on them, so I ended up just canning it and jumping in and out. He's something a little bit easier to drive, so yeah.
No, that sounds good. Good old faithful Audi R8. Keep the sponsors happy, eh, mate?
Exactly.
That's right. So, that's good. Well, shame about your first race. It's done and dusted. Go off and grab yourself an OJ, mate, and rest up. And we'll most definitely see you up the front of the grid for race 2.
Hope so. Good chat, boys. Keep it up.
See you, mate.
Thanks, Andrew. And so, obviously, as we were waiting for the entry there, SVG's got the bit between the teeth. He's tuned her up and really found himself in a comfortable position. You can see how much less track he's actually using. He's all over Jaden Ransley. He can run the car a lot tighter on entry and on exit as we jump on board with SVG. He's got a really good run down onto the main straight as we head to the do and turn. Is he going to have a go under brakes into turn 1? He pops the nose out. Nice clean move. Gets the car braked nice and straight. But Jaden Ransley hasn't given up. He's actually managed to run all the way around the outside of them as we head up into Siberia, Dave, and down towards into the hairpin. We'll see what Dave can do from here.
Yeah, so some really close racing between these top 3. It looks like SVG's pumping tyre pressures up and trying to get small advantages. He's trying to make his way through Stoner Corner here, so he's going to be left on the outside as he approaches Honda. He might be looking for the switchback here as Taylor Cochrane's right into the back of SVG as well. So these 3 putting on a great show. Jaden Ramsey making his car nice and wide here as they approach Siberia. And they're going to head towards the hay shed as well. So SVG's actually going the long way around. Now he's going to find his way towards the inside of the racetrack through the hay shed as well. So you don't want to be going 2x2 through the hay shed because there's not much room for errors. They're approaching Lukey Heights now. We can see SVG's made his way with the fast lap on lap 3 as well, and now he's into the race lead.
And he has a massive moment as we go over Lukey Heights down and towards the hairpin. I don't think I've actually ever seen anyone go around the outside of someone the long way around at Siberia. So that's bloody impressive. So he's obviously got that McLaren hooked up with his changed livery. He's obviously just softened the thing off, wound some grip into the thing. And but you can see Jaden Ranny hasn't given up, certainly through that last turn. You see a massive moment straight there. But he hasn't given up, so he's come down the inside. Shane's made it hard for him on the turn-in. And, we've had a massive moment. So we've had a lap marker get in the middle of us.
Is that Mad Mike? Left. Is that Mad Mike the Drifter?
Something's gone mad because it's just all turned to absolute custard for these leaders, Dave.
Well, I'm not sure how much damage has actually been taking place. We're going to go to the modem simulation replay. So, unfortunately for the leading trio, we can see Shane Van Gisbergen leading his way into turn 1. And there's a lap car just come out of the pit lane, it looks like, with cold tyres. And he's just parked himself right in the racing line and not left any room for SVG or Jaden Ramsey or Taylor Cochrane as well. So we've seen a bit of a shortcut. We've seen a lot of drivers have some big moments down into turn 1 as well over the years, but generally not from lap cars being their way. So we can see Van Gisbergen was squeezing Ramsey to the inside of the track, which made it quite tight. And then, unfortunately, the 3 of them sort of got hooked up with a lapped car as well. So we'll see how things pan out from that. But it looks like Jaden Ramsey might be one of the unlucky drivers from that leading trio.
Yeah, so the Red Bull inspired R8s just sitting on the pole line, betting and brakes as they've come down to turn 1 and just managed to split the whole leading trio apart. So that's a big shame. And obviously Shane's carried a lot of pace in because he's run mid-track, made turn 1 tighter than it probably already was. And as our leaderboard sorts out what's happened here, Taylor Cochrane is the beneficiary. And we've got a little over 4.5 seconds back to Isaac Fletcher, P2, and we see Matthew Griffin jump all the way up into P3, a little over, just under 5 seconds off our leader, Taylor Cochrane. So we had a good old ding-dong battle going there, and once again, we've had a lap marker come out and just tear those leaders apart. So, and we're sort of 7 laps into it, so it's going to be interesting. Shane has dropped down to P15. That might be his race run, or he might push on with it. You can see Zane Hills there. He was also part of that leading trio. He's dropped off dramatically as well too. Jaden Ransley in P8, so he's dropped a fair way back. He's only sort of 11 seconds off the lead. He was probably didn't fare so bad, still being just inside that top 10, but really tore that leading pack apart. So Taylor Cochrane got himself in a nice position there. He can just chip away. Isaac Fletcher, he's sitting there in P2. And that sort of juggled the order up. You can see Mitchell Sparrow, Nathan Krang, and our other familiar names there still running inside the top 10 there, Dave.
Yeah, it's obviously really unfortunate. The leading 3 drivers were putting on quite a show there as well. So Obviously, Taylor Cochran's the big beneficiary out of all this with taking over the race lead. Isaac Fletcher, the young Christchurch driver, is having his best race of the season that I've seen so far as well. So Tasman Karts driver, obviously this evening's race is sponsored by Tasman Karts, so it's great to see the young 11-year-old Christchurch driver in second place as well. He's going to have his work cut out from Matthew Griffin as well to hold on to that podium position. Jaden Rans is still going to be one that's going to be trying to make his way through the field. It looks like he's actually either going to pit lane or he's sort of aboard this race as well. So we'll try and follow Jaden Rans' progress throughout the evening as we go on board Isaac Fletcher here right now as well. So, like I said, there's cars going sort of everywhere. We can see there's lap cars, there's people on cold tyres, there's a few less experienced drivers as well. So there's a lot to take in for some of these leading drivers, but that's what sort of happens in the GT3 categories as well, because if you don't actually use the downforce, it can actually be quite a loose and slippery car to drive.
Yeah, and given that the terminal speed at Phillip Island is so high as well, David, would certainly reward, in a driver, one that's probably more experienced, or two that's probably just downright a little bit too mad as well too, just to carry that high corner speed, especially through turn 1, turn 3, up over Lukey Heights, all that stuff, the last turn, big terminal speed, producing big amounts of downforce. And obviously, as we know, the more downforce they're going to get, they're going to have much more balanced, and the car that's going to generate much more grip through those faster sections. So if you've done lots of driving in a GT car with aero, you'll certainly know that you need to keep that terminal speed up. It's very similar to a wings and slicks style formula car. So lap 9 down, so a little over 11 laps to go, as we've got cars weaving all over the place as we head down into turn 1. And our order hasn't changed too much. Isaac Fletcher still there in P2. Matthew Griffin, good to see him just chipping away in P3 there, New Zealand touring car, and E30, very experienced driver there, based out of Auckland, is Matthew, and all the way down our order. So obviously, Jaden Ransley has checked out of this race, and as we were talking to Andrew Waite before there, Dave, it's going to give them a reasonably good grid for race 2 as we go into our full reverse grid 30-lap feature for this evening. So as we jump on board here, so Liam Mathewson, I'm just thinking, would this be our culprit that jumped down in front of the leaders earlier there, Dave?
Mate, it looks like he's obviously sponsored by Red Bull as well, so I'm not sure whether he was trying to play into Shane Van Gisbergen's hands, but unfortunately has actually got him as well on the way through as well. So not sure if Roland Baines had any team orders to say to young Liam Matheson tonight. Unfortunately, it looks like with some of the side panel damage he's got, he's played a part with someone's incident out there.
Yeah, it looks like he's hit everything but the ambulance tonight by the look of it. So
the ambulance was on the group actually, so I'm not sure if Liam got it on the way through.
And he might have gone in for a quick repair, because the R8 that we came across at turn 1 actually had the rear wing hanging off the thing. So God only knows what happened. So, but Shane McLeod here, one of the lone Ferraris actually running inside the field today. Once again, as we said earlier on, as it is in real life racing, different cars certainly suit different tracks, and Ferrari certainly isn't a brand that you'll see sort of dominated any one track when you actually do watch the Australian GT Championship. Normally it's sort of based around McLaren, Mercedes or Audi are the three main brands there, and whereas you see the Porsche and Ferrari stuff are normally sort of there or thereabouts, and you've got the others like Bentley and those other type of runners as well too. So good to see a Ferrari inspired livery out there. So Simon Burling Claridge, that's our steward that we talk about. He's been supporting these events since early on, running out of Wellington. He's running in the Mercedes AMG as well, very popular vehicle most people are using tonight. So we've obviously got a bit of a ding-dong battle, second, third place, and because we can see that order jumping up and down. Matthew Griffin's jumped to 4th, Nathan Addis has jumped up into P2 there, Isaac Fletcher's still in P3, so there's a fair amount of margin back to Nathan Krang in P5, so he's certainly not one to worry about in that group at the moment. But 2, 3 and 4, it's every man from south as we jump on board here chasing Matthew Griffin, and we've got someone that's either really struggling to get some tyre temperature, and you would have thought they would have that sus now. We're 11 laps in, I'm guessing that might be the number 37 of Isaac Fletcher. I can't quite make it out.
Yeah.
Sorry there, Dave.
Yep. Yeah, Isaac Fletcher. He's definitely getting the tyre temperature up. He's trying to obviously try and break that slipstream for Matthew Griffin behind, but I'm not too sure if that's actually allowed. Can you go from the inside to the outside, back to the inside? But anyway, he seems to have gotten away with it because he's still in third position at the moment. So doing a great job, the young Christchurch driver that we've got, the VMR Tasman Karts driver as well. So he's trying to hang in there with Nathan Anderson. We know he's in second position towards the start of the race. Nathan Krang, who we're on board with now, he's got the Vodafone inspired livery. He's actually a big move in this race. I saw him, I think he was starting towards the back end of the top 10 or even in the teens as well. So a great effort from the NZ Motorsport driver Nathan Krang. He looks like he's trying to make his way past a lap car as well. So it looks like an old Gary Rogers Motorsport Valvoline GT3 inspired car is sort of getting in the way of Nathan Krang here.
Yeah, so Nathan Krang obviously in that Vodafone 888 inspired livery, if you like. So between the Red Bull and the Vodafone livery, there might be a few people trying to sneak in on SVG's seat, maybe hoping that RD's watching from somewhere afar and might sign them up. So you never know their luck. So, but as we said, we've got drivers weaving all over the place. Maybe Craig Baird, our DSO, might be asleep up in the office tonight. So she's every man for himself, weave wherever you like. By the look of it this evening, so quite a big margin now. Isaac Fletcher in P2 there, Matthew Griffin. So that sort of running order's settled down a little bit. We've got around 8 laps to go. Nathan Krang's carrying a fair amount of pace, so we'll see if he can make some space in on these leaders. As we look at the margin, he's got 3 seconds to get back onto the back of Matthew, and Matthew's margin up on those 2 leaders that's dropped back a little bit now. So as we go chase cam with Eton Williams there, the Hamilton Veloci karting supported driver there for a short period, chasing him there. But back up here with Isaac Fletcher and Nathan Anderson. So these guys going hammer and tong for second and third place. This is for the last place on our podium. And Isaac Fletcher, now that we can have a good look, is actually running the Erebus Motorsport inspired livery there from their GT campaign. So, Mish, you're not too sure. Are they still running GT cars, the Erebus Motorsport garage, are they, Dave? Or?
Mate, they've got it down to their factory, but I'm not too sure if actually racing it. They just sort of do some ride days. Barry Ryan and the guys down there as well. So, obviously a great car to. It's been sort of a very famous car for those guys. Obviously, that's how they started their. Liam Matheson's back in the action again. So.
He's just waiting for the leaders to come by.
I'm actually worried that he's coming in position 19. There's actually people behind him as well. So,
Liam.
He's second and third place. Nathan Anderson and Isaac Fletcher.
Yep. Turn in, Liam. Turn in.
And,
there you go.
Yep, Liam Matheson as well. Yep. And who would have thought? Just carve his way back into the lead back. So he's flashing his lights. He's done that.
He must have blown the wing mirrors off the thing in a pit stop, because he's obviously not looking backwards, he's only looking forwards.
Look, honestly, I appreciate his efforts tonight. It's been quite amusing as well. So he still hasn't given up. He's still trying to get his lap back by the looks of it. So Isaac Fletcher, he can't make his way by Liam Matheson as well. So what was looking to be quite a cracking battle between Nathan Anderson and Isaac Fletcher has just been sort of put on hold for a little bit here. And this is going to play into Matthew Griffin's benefit actually as well. So just got to keep an eye on Liam Matheson as he goes into turn 1 as well, because we know he uses an unorthodox line.
Yeah, he does tend, he's trying to keep the corner distance down. As you see, he's running to the right-hand side. Is he waving him by, or is he just going to go hard left under brakes and try and take the shortcut over Siberia with both of them as we get down into turn 1? And it looks like Isaac Fletcher's got the job done on Liam Matheson there. So hasn't quite given Matthew Griffin the chance to chew into that third position of Isaac Fletcher. And saying that might be Liam just dropping a wheel off there as we come on board with Matthew Griffin here in the Cat sponsorship. No, so we've still got Liam in front of us here, so he might cause Matthew a few dramas as well. Give or take, we'll see if Matthew can slot through as quick as he can, as we've got Simon Burning Claridge, our steward, he's had his bag of flags has dropped down to the pedal box by the look of it, and he's had an absolute nightmare before he gets up into Siberia. He's up on the dirty line, and Simon's just trying to regather himself before he goes up through Hayshed and up over through Lukey Heights there, Dave.
Yeah, so he's in position 17 and Lee Matson in position 19, so those guys having a great battle. Look, there's cars going everywhere. To be fair, I thought the GT3 cars had a bit more grip than what some of these drivers have shown as well. So I didn't know that Phillip Island's the highest on tyre deg, but maybe it's in these cars a bit of a handful as well. So Isaac Fletcher still hanging on to third position. He's trying to get in that slipstream of Nathan Anderson as well. He's got 5 laps remaining. Taylor Cochrane at the moment, he's in a comfortable lead at 13 seconds at the moment.
Well, anything's got grip, Dave, if you drive it within its limits. And I think most of these boys might have been actually driving the car outside that grip limit, I would say. And one either burnt the tyre off the thing or just driving it outside that grip window. So finally, Leo Scott here, and it seems to be a pretty standard thing tonight. The McLarens are banging flames out the back, and that's quite a cool looking car, just in the standard gloss black there, and just running really under the radar tonight in the MP4 12C. So quite an old car now, that 12C, and quite a bit of a status symbol when that car came out. There's quite a few 12Cs that we deal with our track days at Downforce, and they're sort of one of the earlier model McLarens, but certainly quite an iconic shape. So as far as the GT3 base race car goes, that car's changed a lot considerably, up to the current sort of 720S models that you'll see floating around the GT Championship. But even though it's still quite an older model, a really, really iconic shape in the McLaren stable there, with those rear exhaust banging those flames out. So Blake Dowdle, there's a name that we're well familiar with. He's been doing plenty of racing with us, Dave, over the last couple of weeks, and he's running in P9 at the moment there, a little over, just under a minute off the lead. He's actually got Zane Hills just behind him. So we've seen Blake actually do really well in previous nights, haven't we, Dave?
No, he's good. He's a good young driver, Blake. I've actually been fortunate enough to coach him a few times, both in Australia and also New Zealand as well. So, great to see him doing well in the top 10 for this evening's race. Like I said, out of 44 cars, we've got our young Junior Max driver definitely holding his own against some seriously experienced simulator drivers as well. So, got 3.5 laps remaining for our leader, Taylor Cochrane. He's opened up a 15-second advantage. Unfortunately, by looking at the leaderboard, we've lost Isaac Fletcher. He's dropped back to 7th position. So, I'm not sure if that's a timing issue, which it looks like it's been rectified right now, which is really good. So, he's hunting down Nathan Anderson. He's right in the tail here, and
here we go. It can't be. Oh no, this is deja vu.
So, like I said, Isaac Fletcher looking for a couple of ways past him as we head towards the heights. We've jumped across on board to Ayrton Williams here, so we can see from the rear vision mirror he's got the Ayrton Senna inspired helmet. Obviously, Ayrton named after the great Brazilian driver as well. So he's trying to hunt down Nathan Crane. These two have raced each other over the course of the last few years as well. And like I said, they're going through Southern Corner here at turn 2. And let's just try and see if he can make his way into the braking zone at Honda.
Yeah, so it's obviously Honda, really, really fast turn, especially in the GT3 cars. We talked lots about the downforce tonight already. Down to the hairpin, real heavy braking zone. Try and keep the car straight for as long as you can. Quite a large apex, get the car turned in, use all the track on exit. Heading up to Siberia, quite a bit of banking. I've been to Phillip Island a number of times. There's quite a bit of banking in Siberia, so you want to keep the car quite narrow. Use all the track on exit as we go up through the Hayshed section, really popular section there with SVG and Dave Reynolds. We always remember that from a couple of years ago in supercars there, that iconic sort of crash those two had. Up over Lukey Heights, taking you down towards the hairpin. So back on board here with Isaac Fletcher and Nathan Anderson. So obviously, as we said, Isaac Fletcher running the Erebus GT3 livery there. Counting laps, 3 laps to go. As we touch on just going through the Hayshed, if I'm rightly there on note, we're going through. Where are we, Dave? Sorry, I'm completely lost. Over through Lukey Heights we are too. Sorry, I was just trying to work out where we are on the circuit. So
the penguins in the background by the looks of it.
Yeah, that's right. Standard Victorian weather. They're always cloudy by the look of it in the background. So, and we're jumping. So we've got on board here Cameron Freeman. So he's either carrying some panel damage there, or he's got some aftermarket bonnet on here on his Mercedes. He's got the big scoop on the centre there. As he's chasing down Leo Scott in that gloss black McLaren 12C. Down to the last turn. Really, really important. Don't get the car turned in too early. Nice late apex. You want to try and get that wheel as straight as you can, as early as you can. That's perfect what Cameron's done there. Trying to make this last straight as quick as you can, so you can see the speed difference between the Mercedes and the McLaren as we get down into turn one. Braking quite late. You'd be surprised how fast they can actually pick the throttle up through here, down towards the southern loop. And certainly I must say, Phillip Island, having been there and watching the stuff in person, it's probably one of my favourite tracks. Getting to watch supercars and GP bikes there, Dave.
Yeah, definitely. So we're on our penultimate lap of the first race this evening's KartSport race, brought to you by Tasman Karts from the guys down in Nelson KartSport there. So, like I said, Taylor Cochrane has been sort of in a class of his own since Lee Matheson wiped out the front of the field, including Jaden Ransley and Shane Van Gisbergen. But we've seen a ding-dong battle between Nathan Anderson and Isaac Fletcher, and those two still haven't given up fighting out for second position. Unfortunately, Matthew Griffin's lost his way in between those lapped cars, and he's sort of fallen off the back of them. But in saying that, he's in a red-hot battle between Cameron Freeman and Leo Scott as well. So there's still some positions to be sort of fought out there as we've got one lap remaining.
Yeah, we've got battles within battles, haven't we? So these boys have got to remember they've got 30-lap feature, and these guys are all going to be starting close to the back as we get down into turn one. Isaac Fletcher, Nathan Anderson have an absolute ding-dong. So Nathan Anderson's run narrow. You can see he's obviously suffers from lack of track as he's gone into narrow, runs hard to the left, down and towards the southern loop, and up towards the hairpins. So these guys obviously running both running the BMW. So we've got open setups tonight as well too. So there will be a bit of difference in between how these cars are set up, but I would say by the look, they're both carrying pretty similar speed towards the end here, and they wouldn't have tuned them up too much. They've got a reasonably big window from guys that I've spoken to. Once you do start getting to those open setups, you can sort of stay within that standard window, and the cars are not easy to drive, but they're most user-friendly to drive if you like, and the car's going to carry some reasonable pace if you drive it right. So Cameron Freeman running the Penrite livery there, and also running the Mercedes AMG. One lap not too far off, just coming up to take the last lap board very shortly. So running out the back of Cameron Freeman, just jumping out the front now, and we've got a good view of the Caterpillar-inspired vehicle of Matthew Griffin there. So as we said, Matthew sort of probably got the raw rub of the stick from a couple of lap markers there, as we can see him coming down towards the last turn. Cameron's turned the car in quite early, and Matthew's kicking up quite a bit of dust there, so that might have hurt Cameron's run as we come down towards to take that final lap board, and as the race closes down. As we said, Taylor Cochrane's got 20 seconds on the field, so he's got a massive margin if he drives a nice clean lap. Matthew Griffin drops a wheel off, put the commentator's curse on him, so that's a real big shame for Matthew, who's doing such a good job, as he drops down to 6th there, Dave. That's a shame.
Yeah, big moment for Matthew. Unfortunately, just lack of concentration and a bit of pressure as well. So we're riding on board here with Taylor Cochrane. He's just got some lap traffic to contend with, but obviously he's got a bit of time up his sleeve as well. So he can just sort of take it easy, make sure Lee Matheson's not going in the wrong direction as we head towards his last corner as well. So if he just bypasses that, he should be pretty safe to take out race one of the Tasman Karts eSport Challenge for tonight.
No, good effort by Taylor. Sort of picked up the pieces there from that mid-race bingle. We had sort of SVG and those other boys, Jaden Ransley obviously, were come a cropper when we came across the lap marker there. So Isaac Fletcher and Nathan Anderson about to bring their cars across the finish line for our first 20-lap race. So good race by those guys. Nice clean run. Plenty of respect between those two, running obviously similar equipment. So that rounds out our top three: Taylor Cochrane, Nathan Anderson, and Isaac Fletcher. And big shame for Matthew Griffin, as we can see him sort of limping the car home by the look of it. So Matthew Griffin has actually run his Mercedes out of gas. So a big undersight by his engineering team. So big shame for him. So the straight's actually downhill. So we'll jump on a replay here and we'll sort of see what's happened with Matthew. So he's come down to the hairpin. Nothing too unusual. Got the car turned in. Down to second gear. Starts to roll on up to third, and we can actually see on the data there on his dash, you can see the car just starting to spatter and sort of run low on gas. So that's a big shame for Matthew, as he was.
Did have a drum. That's what it looks like on the way to the track.
Exactly. That's right. So he's had a moment at turn 1 on the last lap anyway, so his race was probably over and done with by then. So as we can see, Matthew dropping down to the 13th position. So big shame for him. Good job by Taylor Cockenden tonight. Nice smooth drive. Managed to avoid a bit of carnage. And that's going to give him our last place on the grid. So 44th on the grid for Taylor Cockenden going into our 30-lap reverse grid race. And so that's going to be interesting to see how that pans out, Dave.
That's right. So looking at our finish results, so Taylor Cockenden in first. A great battle for second and third with Nathan Anderson holding out Isaac Fletcher. Cameron Freeman in position 4. Mitchell Sparrow in position 5. Leo Scott and Taylor Bryan in 6th and 7th. Mike Muir and Blake Dale in position 8 and 9. And Ben Stewart running out our top 10.
So good to see Benny Stewart. Didn't sort of jump up too much in the race there. Didn't see him do anything that sort of made any of our visuals go towards him. So Benny Stewart just chipping away there in P10. He's had some really good results earlier on with running our liquid action events over that 8-week program. So good to see Ben come back. Obviously he's going to tune the car up a little bit for Heat 2, no doubt, for our 30-lap reverse grid. And he's going to be starting sort of closer to the back. So as we go down through 11 through to 20, a couple of familiar names again. Zane Hills, obviously victim of that accident with SVG and what have you early on in the race. Nathan Crane, Matthew Griffin, Ian Williams there, Hamilton, the Cambridge driver in P14. Brad Still, 1 lap down. So obviously all these guys involved in accidents or had some dramas somewhere along the way. So Brad Still 15, Stephen Beaumont in there in 16th place. 21 through to 30, Darren Asby, Daniel Harvey, the Dunedin driver, LJ Stevenson, Phil Winter, Peter Romitz, Oscar Goldfinch, Brad Wenslick, Matthew Coleman, Glenn Dodd, and Corey Green in P30. So 10 laps down. So shame for Corey because he's always been really fast, but once again must have got caught up in someone else's drama. P31 through to 40, Aston Phipps, the Auckland driver, as we said, 10 laps down, must have had a bit of a drama. So all these guys 10 to 15 laps down. Ollie Workman right down there in P40. So no doubt we'll be seeing these names benefit come our second race as they're going to be starting closer to that 44-car grid, Dave.
Yeah, for sure. So we're going to go to a short break and be sure to join us for race 2, which is a 30-lap final race. Going to be a reversing grid as well. So.
All right, welcome back there, team. So obviously we've concluded our 20-lap first race for this evening, and now we've got our feature race coming up very shortly. Short and distance, so we're going to run over 20 laps again, and certainly that's more than enough track time for everybody. And but full reverse grid, and there's obviously also a pit stop in this race as well too. So certainly had a number of different incidents in that first one there, Dave. Cold tyres catching a few people out. Obviously people trying to get their head around the aero of the GT car as well, Dave. And then our standard issue with a couple of lap markers as well too was trying a few cats in amongst those pigeons there that first race there, Dave.
Yeah, that's Rob. You got 44 cars on the grid as well, so these sort of incidents are always going to be taking place. But things with Phillip Island, a long straight, heading to quite a fast opening couple of corners as well. So with 44 cars on the grid, like I said, with not much racetrack out there, there's going to be some small tangles as well. But look out for Taylor Cochran. He's going to be starting off at position 44 for this second race. We've got a compulsory pit stop in there as well, so it'll be interesting to see when people look to make that pit stop, see if they can make an advantage.
Yeah, that's right. It's very similar to obviously what we saw in the weekend at Sydney Motorsport Park with the supercars. The whole pit stop was certainly a big change in as far as how the results sort of panned out, and the whole tyre deck thing as well was certainly made for good viewing, and certainly then that translates over to this tonight. A little bit of tyre deck and 20 laps being the distance. That pit stop's going to play a little bit of an important part as well too. So essentially going to have our quicker guys off the back, 44 car grid. See our weather conditions there. Obviously standard Victorian day there, Dave. Actually 18 degrees. That's far too warm for Victoria, isn't it? We're overcast though.
Yeah, overcast is pretty standard. 18's actually, that's hot for Phillip Island. That's shorts and t-shirt weather for Phillip Island.
2 kilometre hour winds. They've got that wrong. Normally it's 200 k's when I've been there. So, but yeah, so that's our format.
He's off on the warm-up lap.
So our Red Bull inspired driver's really struggling to get his head around things tonight, isn't he? So, and I know Roland Dane was actually watching this race with intent. So, I think he might just need to rein it in a little bit. Just dial the ABS up on you can adjust on the GD cars. You can adjust the ABS. Just dial that traction control up a little bit, Liam. Just pull it back against sun. And let's try and bring it home in one piece there, mate. You've got a good-looking race car. Let's try and keep it that way. So, as we said, obviously Tasman Kart's joining us this evening, and we're having an absolute nightmare on the roll-up lap tonight, team. Everyone's just losing their heads, and we're not even 3/4 of the lap into our first roll-up lap. So, hopefully everyone can sort themselves out. As we said, Tasman Kart's Brendan Gridley's kindly come on board for 3 weeks, going to be supporting our KartSport event, so good to have Brendan along. I think he's kicking around the back of the commentary box. He might be making a few phone calls, ordering some 4x2 for work, so he might have his hands tied up at some stage. We'll try and drag him in, and but as 44 cars deep, what are you expecting the first couple of laps here, Dave? I know what I am.
Mate, it's going to be a shambles, let's be honest. We're going at half speed. We can't even keep on the racetrack as well, so obviously some of the less experienced guys towards the front of this field, which is no.
This can't be happening, he says. Ollie Workman. Ollie, come on, son.
Ollie, come on, mate. The old cold tyres warming them up. Just keep on the black stuff, mate. So unfortunately you have to start towards the mid-pack. The advantage that he had has all just been taken away. So honestly, to guess what's going to happen here. I don't think Dr. Helmut Marko is going to be too impressed with old Lee Matheson having the Red Bull on his car. So we're going to head off to our green flag here. We've the inside road, and this car's going to Red Bull back to the pack. I've got no idea who the blue car is, but he's off. And unfortunately, looks like Taylor Cochran's going to be in that incident as well, by the looks of it.
Oh, that's a shame. We may laugh. It is very humorous, but it might hurt a couple of those quick guys at the back, which is a bit of a shame. So we'll let them settle down over these first couple of corners. Just take your time, boys. Let those tyre temperature come up. You're not going to break any land speed records that first lap. Remember, it's 20 laps long. You've got a pit stop. So down to the hairpin for the first time. We're sort of going 2.5 cars wide. We've managed to all get round there. And Cameron Freeman, Braden Snowden, P2, Whangarei driver. Arthur Brown, so good to see young Arthur in there, obviously from the Liquid Action stable. Down to the hairpin, we've got a few dramas going on. Dare I say it, I did see some Red Bull livery in there. So we'll keep an eye on that. And down into Siberia, it looks like we've had one of the Mercedes turn around. I think that might have been young Ayrton Williams looking at the livery. So he's had a massive month. And as he gets himself sorted out and back into the fence, so he's just going to park himself up there near the flag spot. That's be a good place to view from. So she's all action, as we said, Dave, as we're just about to finish off the first lap. Cameron Freeman, the Invercargill driver, kept his nose clean, and Brad Still running the P2 there.
Okay, so we're going to have a competition court with safety cars come out. There's cars going everywhere. They're just going to try and settle everyone back down into a single file. Get Ayrton Williams from the infield there, and try and get him back into the race as well. So we can see the virtual safety car coming around the field now, bringing him back into a nice slow speed. Like I said, it was a pretty chaotic first lap. Cold tyres, 44 cars. Try and run 2 and 3 wide as well around some of these corners, which was never going to work with some of the low experience. And we've got, like I said, we can't even keep it behind the safety car.
Oh, there's something to do with that Red Bull branding to the team. I think they actually might have been on the Red Bulls, mate. That might be the problem. So as Dave said, 44 cars deep. We're just going to reset the field. And this sort of obviously a big field. We've even got people just running off down towards the hairpin there. So obviously, as we said, we've got our club days are up and running now. Big meeting coming up in the next 2 weeks. So Gold Star, KartSport Hastings, little over 160 entries. So that's a massive meeting. Obviously, people are really keen to get back to those tier 2 sort of level meetings. And that just sort of makes me think, we're sort of resetting this field. That's been a sort of an iconic event for a long time. We're going to have a big mix of tier 1, tier 2 drivers running against one another. So a lot of people will be testing for sort of North Islands coming up later in the year and what have you. So hopefully everyone can go to that meeting. Number 1 being enjoy the meeting. 2, look after those people that are actually doing the Gold Star series. And just make it a really successful meeting for KartSport Hastings and for KartSport New Zealand in general. So it's going to be an absolute cracker of a weekend. I've certainly enjoyed being back at the track. Already done a bit of coaching the last couple of weeks, so looking forward to getting back to an actual major kart meeting, Dave.
Yeah, for sure. Now, is Hastings, is that Napier? Is it Napier racetrack?
Napier, yeah, that's right. That's where you came over and raced North Islands with us and won North Camps. So. And actually running the same format, so they're running reverse track, so same track that you actually raced on for North Islands there. So good track, good club, really good location.
Awesome.
And so really look forward to getting back to Gold State. As we said, 160 entries, that's massive. I think Brendan was saying he can probably actually enlighten us. You still kicking around the back of the combox there, Brendan?
Yeah. Maybe work calls, but the entries are massive, Like it's like Junior Rotax, VMR, Rotax Light, and even Open have got big fields, 20 plus.
Yeah, no, that's magic.
Oh, it's awesome for the sport to have, especially getting back into it, and obviously good for the club too.
Yeah, that's right. Hastings sort of one of those clubs. Well, like most of those sort of smaller regional clubs, have sort of always struggled a little bit for income and noise problems and all those associated stuff that goes along with running any club, even with it being a sporting club in these current times. So I think financially it's going to be a good injection for the club, and really looking forward to it. It's going to certainly be the biggest meeting we've had for a while. So given we didn't have a nationals this year, I think this is probably going to be, if not close to our nationals, I suppose you could say there, Brendan.
Oh, totally. And one good thing about it is there's hardly been any testing on the track, so it's going to be good for a lot of people.
Yeah, that's right. So, and Hastings being a track that does generally rubber up quite well as well too, if we can get a nice fine winter's day down there, I'd say you'd probably see some lap records might get broken. So I think we might have seen Ed Williams get back on the track there. Is that him tearing off into the distance, just going to get himself on the back of the grid there? So he shouldn't be too much longer under safety car while we're getting things reset, obviously. And so that Ben Stewart, so he's got this very similar livery to what Ed Williams is carrying. So Benny Stewart getting himself all sorted out. He's going to come round, tag himself onto the back of the field. He'll be running in position 44 there. So a few people obviously taking advantage and taking those pit stops that we talked about there, Dave. And that's obviously shuffled up our order a little bit. Zach Blinko P2 and our own Travis Smith there in P3, as we said, Dave.
Yeah, it looks like the compulsory pit stop, being able to take it under a safety car is probably the advantage you want to take. So we can see how these leads are going to need to get a bit of a wriggle on as well. So we can see quite a few cars passing the virtual safety car already, which I'm not too sure that's allowed. But the safety car's just pulled in now. Our lead is going to sort of make their way onto the start-finish line and greet the green flag. So, like I said, we've got our leading bunch now with Arthur Browan. He's going to be leading the way in the Red Bull Inspired livery with Zach Blinko and Travis Smith in third. Ashton Phipps in position 4, Paul Winter and Oscar Goldfinch in position 6.
So fresh off a safety car. So safety cars breed safety cars sometimes. So we'll see how these boys manage. So a massive move there by... so Zach's had a good move down into the southern loop there. He's got underneath under Arthur Brown. So nice clean move on cold tyres by him. So see how these guys manage this cold tyre scenario for the first lap and a half. Just really good time to be nice and patient, not running too side by side at the moment. Just really feel that grip come into the car. Very much the same like driving your go-kart. Just let the tyre temperature come up. Build that speed up. Drive the car at 75, 85, 95% while you feel that grip come underneath you. And certainly this stuff is no different. So as we'll let them chip away. So some really good driving up front. Zach Blinko's just chipping away, driving the car nice and straight. Arthur Browan from the Liquid Action Group there, he's doing a good job driving nice and straight as we come over Lukey Heights down to the hairpin. Gets the car turning a little bit narrower than Zach, and we've got an absolute ding-dong here with sort of 5 cars. We're going too deep down to the hairpin, and I'm pretty sure, and we've had one of the cars get turned around on exit on throttle, so that's a big shame for Isaac Fletcher. He was our running inside our top 3, and looks like someone in a Ferrari's joined sympathy as well too. So that's a shame for Isaac, because he would have been chipping his way through the field and certainly would have been keen on another podium like everyone. So we jump back on into turn 1. So we've got cars going left, right and centre up there. It's going to be a massive moment. They've just got away with that in front of the pit lane there, Dave. And we've got a black and white zebra coloured Red Bull livery here of Dennis Phillips. So this one's just popped up, and hopefully he's going to do the Red Bull livery a little bit prouder than some of the other boys, I hope, Dave.
Yeah, mate, look, honestly, it's a crazy race out there. There's definitely a few that need some driver training. Not, I don't know, like I said, it's pretty wild. That's what we've been sort of seeing in this virtual iRacing scene. Like I said, the leading trend needs to get a bit of a wriggle on as well, because there's quite a few cars towards the mid-pack that have already sorted their compulsory pit stop out. So if they're going to be under the green flag conditions, they're going to lose a little bit of time as well. So for Zach Blinko and Arthur Browan, they're going to want to get some clear track, some nice consistent laps, and try and build that advantage as well. So when they make their pit stop, they can slot back into to a pretty decent position as well. So like I said, we're going for some big moves down towards MG. Nathan Krang's just sort of lent on old mate, just sort of flicked him around in a pit manoeuvre and just sort of gone on his merry way.
Yeah, it's and I think Nathan Krang might have actually been avoiding a spinning car on the inside there as well. So they look like they might have been 3 wide there for a second. So she's all guns blazing down to there. So as we're going to, so Scotty's just sorted out the replay here. So here we are on board with Nathan Krang, and we'll see how it panned out as they go up over Lukey Heights down to the hairpin. So someone's jammed it in. So he's had a fair old move in there. Someone's half spun. They've locked a rear brake, and coincidentally what's happened after that is Nathan's just gone to avoid and got into the B pillar of the car in front of him. So obviously didn't mean to do it, sort of avoiding that car in front of him, but coincidentally he's moved forward 1 spot, and a couple of other boys have lost a couple of spots there. So but these things happen, and certainly down to there, it's obviously they're still under cold tyres as well too. So and back to our running order there, and we're probably a little over a quarter of the way through there, Dave.
Yeah, so it's unfortunate for some of those leading drivers. Like I said, spinning out on cold tyres, and Nathan Krang had a bit nowhere to go. So unfortunately, we've had some early race incidents, but looks like Zach Blinko is doing a great job out in front. Like we were saying earlier, it's with the compulsory pit stops, it sort of throws that strategy into place as well, which can definitely can sort of shuffle the leading drivers as well. So it'll be interesting to see how things pan out once that everyone's completed their compulsory pit stop, whether the newer tyres has the advantage straight away or towards the back end it has an advantage as well.
Yeah, that's right. I suppose a lot of those guys did pit early, so that green tyre advantage that you're going to get, if you've done 10 laps on your tyre, then you start to see that dig at the end, you are going to get that initial green tyre gain. But obviously those guys are going to have helped themselves, obviously stopping early, but they've got to run 20 laps on that set of tyres now. So it'll be interesting to sort of see how that pans out for them. So as we jump on board Aston Phipps here, as we go up through the long fast left down towards the hairpin, see him getting the car stopped nice and straight, really small steering, but as he had a massive move stuck on the inside of him, he was nearly on turning there. So that was a fairly hefty move by young Zane Hill. So sort of came from nowhere. Aston looked committed, was doing a good job, and might have got the raw rub of the green there. Bit of a shame because he was all sort of lined up to get himself up through Siberia. So probably a little bit rough, but Zane's sort of gotten away with it. Aston's given him a little bit of room and managed to not get turned around. So Aston can reset, get his eyes forward, and try and chase Zane down and see if he can actually follow him and see how that race can pan out for him. So, but because he was doing a nice job before they actually got into there. So looks like we actually might be offline here. My footage is saying there, team.
I've come back. I've refreshed the feed, and we're back on board with Ashton Phipps as well. So it's pretty cool to see. Obviously, a lot of these kids have actually raced each other throughout their time on the karting circuits and now into the virtual world as well. So, like I said, I'm sure that some of the traits that they see in real life are actually transpiring into the eSeries as well when we come to some of these races. So, like I said, we're nearly halfway through the first race, and it's still Zach Blinko that's leading the way at the moment.
Yeah, that's right, and he's been a star performer. He's been there or thereabouts through most of our KartSport events, hasn't he, Dave? So it's good to see him having another good run and improving all that experience. Doesn't come to nothing. So
unfortunately, we've lost another Red Bull car. Dennis Phillips has just overshot his braking mark a little bit there into Honda and had to use the escape route there. So not too sure whether the Red Bull cars have been using the same data as each other, but a few mistakes have just sort of popped up between those drivers there. But we can see Nathan Crank back on board, the NZ Motorsport driver, driving the Vodafone Mercedes AMG car there. So great recovery into position 6. He's sort of trying to hunt down. Taylor Cockton's been one of the big charges in this race. So we know he started in position 44 and he's made his way into the top 4 now. So I'm not too sure whether he's completed his compulsory pit stop as of yet, but he has. So the BMW Z4 driver is a man on a mission here. So 11 seconds off the race lead and already completed his compulsory pit stop. He's looking to do the double race win tonight.
Yeah, so he's going to have to run that 11 laps on those tyres. We'll just see how that tyre deck works. He's just driving the car nice and straight, using as much track as he can, Dave. So not sliding the car, not burning up that tyre too much. So we do know Taylor's a nice, smooth driver. He's very experienced, as you see. Down to the hairpin, nice straight move, gets the job done. Very clean move under brakes as they head up into Siberia. So, he's only got an 11-second margin to get up onto those leaders. So I think if he keeps chipping away there, Dave, he could be shooing for another win there. So we do know he's very experienced if he can keep driving the car nice and straight, not torching the car too much, just driving it well within its tyre limits. I'd say he's odds on from getting back in that lead for us.
Yeah, 100%. We've just seen a massive incident with Ashton Phipps. He's had a bit of a moment at Lukey Heights, unfortunately, been involved with some other people there as well. So we're going to go across to our modem simulation replay here. As we see, they're going through the hay shed in southern. Hang on, we're going through, and we've just lost it. Yeah, Ashton Phipps is just sort of the old Missy Apex, get out to the slippery stuff, and and around she goes. So really unfortunate for the young Junior Max driver there. He was making some great inroads there, just outside the top 10.
Yeah, that's a big shame for him. He sort of was driving nice and straight, just minding his own business early on, and sort of got rubbed up a little bit by some of those sort of more experienced drivers. So a big shame for him because he was doing a really good job. So halfway through now, and as we said, keep an eye on Taylor Cochran there as he's chipping his way through the field. He's got that stop done early, as we talked about, Dave. Made the most of that, and obviously those other boys still yet to stop. They're going to have to very shortly think about getting inside that pit lane, getting that pit stop done, and because they might lose the advantage of that green tyre and that track position, I would say, Dave.
Yeah, for sure. Obviously, like I said, we saw in race 1 a lot of lapped traffic gets involved here. We've got some dramas here. Lee Matheson in the action again. He's pretty loose as he comes down through. Yep, and we've just sent one. Lee Matheson. Oh, no, that's actually Arthur Brown. Sorry, I think we've got the wrong car here, actually.
Oh, no.
There, but the Red Bull cars, they're pretty loose. Whatever setup they've got, they're a bit lively under acceleration there. So Arthur Brown currently in position 3. Taylor Cochran right in his rear vision mirror here as well. So he's looking towards the inside under braking. He's gone for the big move, and Arthur Brown, nice and sensible, gives him some racing room. We've got Blake Dowdle right on his tail as well.
Yeah, that's good driving by those boys. They're actually using their mirrors, and they can see that obviously Taylor's the quicker driver coming through. They know, true to form, that Taylor's been fast nearly everywhere we've gone, and he's not going to be the type of driver that's going to come past and open the driver's door on you and put you in the fence upside down. So really good driving by those guys. They can see Taylor coming go and let him push on further up towards those leaders. So we'll keep an eye on them as we run wide down into the right-hander there, so that's going to hurt them slightly. So just get back in behind them and just press that reset as we head up down towards the last corner, making our big long run down towards the hairpin there. I think we are, aren't we? So, but you can see these boys just starting to get a little bit out of control. Zane Hill's here. You can see, obviously, he started 25th, so he's made up 20 positions, and so Zane's doing a good job. As we see these boys just starting to get a little bit tired. So is that, we're over halfway through, is that tire dig starting to make a little difference, Dave? We can start to see them.
Yeah.
And we've had a couple of really nasty moments up there, and as we can see, Zane, and that's a massive moment.
So really unfortunate for Arthur Brown. He was having a great race for the start of this race too as well. So we're going to go head across to our modem simulation replay. We've got a safety car out as well. So Arthur Brown minding his own business here. Just sort of tucking behind us in position 5 at the time as well. So doing a great job, young VMR driver as well. Sort of looking for a position to pass, coming onto the straight. Not normally a pass that you want to be making, but unfortunately we've seen a lapped car, and he's had nowhere to go, Arthur Brown. So like I said, really unfortunate for the Marlborough driver as well. From it's a shame to see him up on his roof.
Yeah, that's a massive moment, isn't it? So we're sort of just minding his own business, and he's having a massive moment there. So he can he'll go back to pit lane. He'll get a repair and get back out there. But that's Arthur's race done and run, we're afraid. So as we can see, one of the Audi R8s there missing a little bit of bodywork as we're chasing down. So Leo Scott there. He's actually moved up a fair way. So his highest position ran up in 10th. Started 30th. So he's been chipping away. He's done a reasonably good job. And obviously Taylor Cochran, how's that for some stats? Started 35th and currently in that 3rd position. So doing a good job there, Taylor. As we said, just making his way through the field nice and straight. And he'll be chasing down those leaders, that lead probably pretty shortly, I'd say, Dave.
Yeah, look, obviously he's been a class act. We saw Jaden Ransley and Shane Van Gisbergen in race 1. They were obviously, the trio were quite close in times. But we've got our safety car out as well now. So this is going to throw a bit of a spanner in the works. Zach Blinko had Zane Hill. Sorry, who was leading? It was Zach Blinko. That's it. I've lost my marbles there for a second. So Zach Blinko, unfortunately, that lead of his has evaporated. So he's going to have to get his work cut out when we go back to green here. So safety car, like I said, cars bunch up. We've seen pretty wild action under the safety car conditions as well.
Yeah, it's certainly this late in the piece. I wouldn't imagine we should be having too many dramas on the safety car because that tyre temperature should be up for all those guys. So I can't imagine us having too many dramas. But you never know these boys, Dave. They've certainly thrown us a couple of curveballs to keep an eye on. And but we'll see if they can all behave themselves. And as we said, we'll just let it reset a little bit. Probably good chance for those that haven't grabbed that pit stop to get it done. And then we'll actually be back to a true running order, if you like, I suppose, Dave.
Yeah, that's right. It's going to be interesting to see because it's going to be sort of like a 5-lap dash towards the finish line as well. So, like I said, when you've got the leading cars all sort of parked up, this sort of works into Taylor Cochrane's favour as well because, like I said, now we've seen the speed that he's shown throughout the 2 races, and now he's sort of bunched in behind the leading trio of drivers as well. So he's probably going to be the big beneficiary out of all this. He had plenty of time up his sleeve, but now he's sort of we can see Zach has had to pull into the pits for his compulsory pit stop. So that's going to inherit the race lead for Taylor Cochrane as well. So a fantastic effort to pick up 35 positions in 13 laps.
Yeah, how's that for the way the race has panned out for Taylor? He's done a stop early, and then he's taken advantage of that second safety car, and got himself into the lead. Obviously now those boys have had to stop. So good job by him. Real headstrong race, and panned out really well for young Taylor there. And you take a look at his car there, Dave, and there's not one mark on any of those panels either.
No, he's done well to avoid some of those, lapped cars and people on cold tyres as well, because we saw quite a few incidents at the start of the race as well. So that BMW Z4 is hooked up nicely. It's got the sponsorship from Motul for this evening's race. So, like I said, from the GT3 category, he's been a class act this evening. And like I said, big thanks goes out to our major sponsor for this 3-round series, the Tasman Karts, the Nelson karting shop, hosted by Brendan Gridley. Mate, are you still there with us, Brendan?
Yeah, still here watching the action on track.
And what are you thinking of the action tonight, mate? Seems to be pretty wild out there.
Yeah, no, it has been pretty wild to be fair, isn't it? But hey, at the end of the day, you can't feel your tyres underneath you, obviously, in the real world. So, hey, it's a bit of fun for the guys, to be fair.
For sure. Like I said, we've people are getting excited now, getting back to the racing tracks as well. So they're sort of taking some of that adrenaline back out to the virtual scene, and obviously now we're seeing some incidents. But look, the good thing is you can always click restart. You can always join another race next week as well. So pretty cool to be able to get this action across to you guys that in the meantime as well, and look forward to get back to the kart tracks quite soon.
All right, that's right. Sorry there, team. I just had a few connection issues and just trying to get my visuals up to date. Just having a bit of an issue here with the stream at my end, but that's not unusual for my high-speed internet, Dave, as you know.
No, I know. Like I said, it's good to actually have you on board tonight, and on the same lap as us for the first time.
Yeah. We're lap 14, aren't we? We're 14 to 20. I'm just checking.
Yeah, we are on 14 to 20, but it looks like your microphone. Are you speaking in the garage or something? I can't hear.
Oh, mate,
Back.
I'm having all sorts of drama. It's my dial-up. We've discussed this. We're working on getting fibre in New Plymouth, mate. It's our local council's just really under the pump. They haven't got a lot of money and just spending money on sports stadiums, so it's all going to the right places. So,
no, we're good to go, mate. We're good to go with 5. Well, we've got 5.5 laps remaining.
Yeah, no, that's good. So, obviously, still under our safety car here. Still getting that field reset. So, we've set it already. It's played out into Taylor Cochrane's hands really well tonight. Drove a stellar race in that first one, and in this one here, just a really, really good strategy. He's chipped away and got himself through to the lead. He's done his pit stop. He's got his tyres on now. As we said, it's just going to be a 6-lap run to the end for Taylor. As we see, a couple of people filtering out from pit lane. They're going to get themselves down the back of the grid and get themselves back and back onto the back of that field, and we'll see once we start going green. I'd say most of those people that bowled those tyres on, I'm going to get that advantage of that green tyre, because we're only talking 15 laps, Dave. They sort of don't have 50% of the race to run, so all those guys are going to have to push on as quick as they can as soon as this safety car peels off. And but saying that, with that green tyre, they're going to be under temperature, under pressure, and never know, as they say, those safety cars, they can tend to bring out more safety cars, so we'll see what happens.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see whether anyone can actually keep up with Taylor Cochrane, because, like I said, we know from qualifying in the front row, winning the opening race, and now coming from the back to the front of the field, it'll be interesting to see whether anyone can actually stay with him to actually challenge him for the final few laps as well. So, like I said, we've got a couple of quick drivers in behind him, tucked right onto his bumper, with the safety car looking imminent to sort of pop in this lap as well. So, if you're in that second and third position, you don't want to let Taylor Cochrane go through those first couple of corners. You want to try and maximise any opportunity that might arise.
Yeah, that's right. It's certainly know if I was going to be in P2, I'd probably try and have a crack at him as soon as you can, and just turn it into a battle straight away. You're not having to play the long game. You're not having to look after the tyre. You certainly want to make a race of it to start off with, and I think if you give him 2 or 3 corners, and if he gets a couple of car lengths gap, he's going to make things pretty hard for everybody else. So certainly enough, if it was me in position 2 or 3, I'll be jamming it in the hole and trying to hold that race up as much as possible if it was me.
Well, 100%, especially with limited damages that are going to be sort of taking place in that virtual racing scene. Like I said, we're getting our way back towards the final corner, and we're going to see Taylor Cochrane just sort of park up the cars a little bit. He's going to try and get a bit of a jump start here, and away he goes. So position 2 was quite aware of that. Position 3, unfortunately, been falling asleep a little bit. Now he's actually trying to get some free space and slipstream as well. So he's just able to get a big advantage of those first 2 corners.
Yeah, he's very experienced. You can see he's got a good run off, giving himself plenty of distance as they head down and towards turn 1. And as we said, you just want to be jamming in the hole into turn 2, even up into the hairpin. And if there's a little bit of contact involved, you'd want to be just trying to hold that race up as much as you can and turning into as much of a battle as you can. So as we head up down through turn 2, and as we've had, we've still got some cars going every which way in the background. And
gone. That's our race leader.
He has gone, he has.
That's extremely unfortunate. He's had to wait for the whole field to pass him by before he actually make his way back onto the track.
That's a real shame for Taylor. So it's as we said, it sort of didn't really see it panning out that way. We thought he might disappear off into the distance, Dave, but he's managed to get himself involved, and he's managed to drop back off that lead, which is a real shame for him, because I reckon he was odds on. And obviously Zane Hills, he's the main beneficiary out of that whole scenario there. So bit of a shame for Taylor. But in saying that, Taylor Bryant up into 2, Nathan Anderson P3, Daniel Harvey P4, Zach Blinko P5. So let's jump all those guys up in order. And as you go back down, obviously all those people that have stopped already are full steam ahead to the end, aren't they?
For sure. Like I said, Zane Hills has just sort of shot away on that opening lap. He's sort of taken advantage of Taylor Cochrane's misfortunes. He's opened up a 3-second lead as well. So it's going to be quite hard to chase down with only 2 laps remaining. Nathan Anderson, who was a front runner in race 1, he's found his way up to position 2. He's going to have a ding-dong battle here with Taylor Bryant, who's looking towards the inside, and he's gone for the big move here. Oh, and he sort of overshot the braking marker and just sort of lent on Nathan Anderson a little bit as well there. So, not too sure. What are your thoughts on that, Tony?
Pretty brave old move. Like, he's probably certainly, I would say, he's got away with it. He hasn't hurt himself too much. But I would say if he wasn't there, he probably would have ended up in the runoff road there. So, bit of a shame. Obviously, not a massive amount of contact involved in it. It's probably a move I would have done if I was in P2 and Taylor Cochrane was in front of me. That's that dive bomb that we were sort of talking about. So he's gotten away with that. I would say if Beto was up in the DSO box, he might get a penalty for that one. But in saying that, we push on, And as the laps tick away, Zane Hill's, just a little over 4 seconds gap there, back to second place. So if he drives a nice straight race towards the end, would say he's probably going to take it away. And Zach Blinker, it's still not over for second and third. Very, very small margin between those guys there, and they're actually a lot more spaced out than I thought they would have been. As we go back down the field, we've got lights flashing everywhere, and we've still got cars coming out of the pits as well too. So it's still not over. If you go back down that running order, we look at those closer margins from sort of 7 through to position 11. I'd say that's where we're probably going to see some action very shortly, Dave.
For sure. We're in the dying stages of this race too. Like I said, we've got some really good passing into Honda here. So what we got positions sort of 5th down to sort of 8th or 9th here. We're going to be having a nice hustle. Got the Penrite car. He's trying to find his way past as well. So like I said, mixture of brands here. We've got quite a few Mercedes at the front of the pack. We've got a couple of BMWs mixed in there as well. So Isaac Fletcher was up towards the front, had a spin, found his way back into the mid-20s, and now he's in position 13 again. So a great recovery from the Christchurch driver. He's going to try and finish off this night on a good note.
Yeah, that's we'd sort of forgotten about Isaac for a little bit there, because he was involved in that altercation in the hairpin, in those first couple of laps. So, but he's just chipped away. Obviously, run a good strategy, got into the pits early, and he's making some positions going forward. So good to see him sort of get back inside that sort of top 15, because he was gone for all money as far as we're concerned, weren't we? So good to see him back inside there. And I'd say he's not finished yet. He's right in that gaggle of cars where you can see the margins are nothing, and I'd say we might even see him get inside that top 10 if he keeps going the way he's going, Dave.
That's right. So we can see, I think it's either Ayrton Williams maybe, or Ben Stewart again. So unfortunately, that car's had a bit of circle work in his second race. So unfortunately for Ben Stewart, he's going to fall out of a great leading position as well. So like I said, really good finish to this second race. That safety car's actually been put out at a very good time, because we can see now it's providing some close race with only a lap and a half remaining. As we can see, I haven't seen actually Dyson Freeman competing in this series before, but it's great to have him involved.
Yeah, it's the Invercargill driver. So he's sort of been, it's like Corey Green, he's been doing most nights.
Yep.
And but sort of hasn't had the bit of luck, been sort of wrong place, wrong time, as we see there's cars going every which way, left and right, as the laps wind down. So we're going to be getting the last lap take very shortly, and I would say we're probably going to have someone in this group end up on their roof, I'd say, going across the finish line the way it's going. And our margins are so tight, and she's on for young and old. We've got there's no lap markers in there, so that's all for position, all those guys in there. The headlights are ablaze. They've got the elbows out, Dave, and dare I say it, they're racing for sort of 7th through to 11th position. So there's no money on this, boys, but they're treating it like it's the Nationals, as we see someone in the pit fence as we take the final lap board. Yeah,
looks like obviously the top 3 are going to be sort of pretty stagnant at the moment. Zane Hill's got a nice big advantage over Zach Blinko. Daniel Harvey's got a 3-second advantage over Nathan Anderson as well. So the top 3 look to have sorted themselves out, but that doesn't mean that from position sort of 4 all the way through to position sort of 9 or 10, anything can happen here. So we can see Braden Snowden. He's having a tight battle with, it looks like, Brad Wensler. Unfortunately, Braden Snowden's fallen back there as well. So we've just lost the car out to the left-hand side. Looks like the Patron Tequila car's parked its way to the infield. Got Ben Stewart, he's fixed up someone as well on the way through, which is kind of nice to see. And then he's decided to park it up. So we've got a bit of circle work happening on our final lap. And it looks like Zane Hills has actually crossed the line in first position as well. So great effort from Zane, and Zane Hills in position. No, Zane Hills is actually going to be the winner, Tony.
Yeah, that's right. So, and obviously Zane's been doing a hell of a lot of iRacing lately in different platforms. So he's come through and taken lead, obviously through Taylor Cockerton's demise earlier on. So Zane picking up the win. You've got to be in to win, and he's obviously been doing a hell of a lot of driving lately as well too. So really cool for Zane to come away with the win. He's been top 3 at a lot of our previous events. Zach Blinko there in P2, and then as that sort of 7th through to 11th sort of sort themselves out, those positions still chopping and changing as we come up through to finish, and go from there. So that's our 20 lap feature, reverse grid as we said. So that's won and run by Zane Hills, the Auckland Rotax Max driver, running out of the Urban Performance stable there, Dave. So certainly a very action-packed night. And
Liam Matheson once again, so he's provided us plenty of action. He's actually pretty wide on his final lap as well. So
brilliant.
Yep, there he is, back out in the grass there. So we can't even keep it on the racetrack. So
oh god, Liam certainly got his money's worth tonight, hasn't he?
That's right. But look, obviously, big thanks goes out to Tasman Karts. A great first round of this 3-round championship for the GT3 categories. Next, we're going to be moving towards Spa in Belgium. So, obviously, designed for these GT3 cars perfectly as well. So, obviously, really cool to see Shane Van Gisbergen joining us for a few laps tonight. Unfortunately, got involved in an early race incident. I'm sure Jaden Rams will be back on board as well next week.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, so really cool for, as we said, Shane to jump in very briefly. We know he's a pretty busy boy. It was a bit of a surprise. None of us sort of knew that he was jumping on, so that's really cool. Even though it was only a couple of laps, but he proved that he could get used to it pretty much straight away, but got caught up with a bit of a lap marker there, which was a bit of a shame. So, but really cool event. GT3 is certainly a bit of a knife-edge car to drive, as we've been alluded to by a few drivers we've spoken to. And obviously we're going to be heading off to Spa for our next event next Tuesday night. And as you mentioned, Dave, supported by Brendan Gridley and the team at Tasman Kart Supplies there. So there's our final running order. I would read it if I could actually get the visuals up and running here. Sorry, team, more internet issues. I'm sure Dave can help us read those.
Daniel Hill's in first position, Zach Blinko in position 2, Daniel Harvey running out our podium for tonight, Nathan Anderson, Brad Wenslick, Matthew Griffin, Braden Snowden, Isaac Fletcher with great recovery into position 8, Mike Muir in position 9, and Dyson Freeman running out our top 10.
So absolute stellar of a final there. 20 laps was the distance. We were going to run 30. I decided we would change it to 20, and I think that's certainly the optimal distance there, and certainly proved with those safety cars, certainly mixed it up, reset the field when we needed to, and provided some bloody good racing, Dave.
100%. Like I said, the GT3 category always provides some nice close racing. Phillip Island, great racetrack. Plenty of fast-flowing corners suited to the GT3 cars. But obviously, really looking forward to getting over to Europe next week.
Yeah, virtually or actually in person? You're travelling over there next week or something, mate, or no?
Mate, in Victoria, some of our suburbs are actually locked down, so I can't even go to the grocery store at the moment.
Oh, mate. Yeah, no, you boys are certainly in a world of hurt over there. So I'm not sure if we're going to drag any of our leaders, our winners, in for a chat. Cool. So Zane Hills, welcome to the commentary box, buddy. Congratulations, mate. Really well done tonight.
Yeah, thank you.
Excellent, mate. So you've so apart from a really good result tonight, you've been pretty active in the last couple of weeks, racing on different platforms. Do you want to tell us briefly about that?
Yeah, I mean, I've done a bit of sim racing here and there, but yeah, I think the only thing I've really enjoyed is racing in the KartSport. It's been pretty good. I mean, there's a lot of people that have been quite stupid on track, but I mean, that is racing, so you can't really do a lot about it.
Yeah, no, that's right, mate. That's right. So, and obviously, back at the kart track yourself now. So you ran in KartSport Tokoroa Club Day on the weekend. How was that?
Yeah, it's pretty good. I got first equal with one of my teammates, Charlie Coleman, and yeah, it was a really good week, and it's quite wet, but yeah, it was a pretty good weekend nonetheless.
Excellent, good job, mate. Good job. So, pretty successful couple of days. First equal at Tokoroa on the weekend, and then end up with the feature win tonight, mate. So well done. So, and you're as far as next kart meeting for you will be, what have you got planned, mate?
Next kart meeting is going to be Hamilton this weekend, the club day. And then after that, we'll probably be either Gold Star or Pro Car. I'm not sure which one's first.
Cool. So plenty of time in the driver's seat, mate, now that we can get to the kart tracks. So well done. So, no, good job tonight there, Zane. And no doubt we'll probably see you next Tuesday night, mate.
Yep, definitely. Thank you very much.
Excellent.
Awesome,
Good job.
Great job. All right. So it looks like we're going to be chatting to young Christchurch driver Isaac Fletcher, who had a bit of an eventful evening tonight. Obviously, we know he's sponsored by Tasman Karts, but thanks very much for joining us, Isaac. Tell us a little bit about your evening.
Yeah, it was pretty good. Had a good first race, getting my first podium of KartSport, so I was pretty happy with that.
You've done an amazing job. I've obviously we first saw you competing about 2 months ago, and I'm guessing you've done a few laps now behind the simulator because I can see your rapid improvement each week.
Yeah, done some practice, done a heap of practice to get better, and yeah, really enjoying it.
And just tell us, obviously, as a young kid, when you see the likes of Scott McLaughlin and Shane Van Gisbergen and people that you probably look up to, how does it feel sharing the racetrack with those guys?
Yeah, it's pretty amazing. And like whenever you're around them, it's like, oh, like can I beat them or
Just offload them,
yeah.
mate, next time. Don't worry about them. Just offload
Yeah.
them.
Yeah, it's a real cool feeling.
No, that's awesome, mate. So do you have any upcoming kart races?
Yeah, I'm going to Hawke's Bay for the next round of Gold Star Series.
Yep. Well, obviously, look, great job tonight. We look forward to hearing next Tuesday how this weekend's racing unfolded, and we wish you all the best.
Yes, thank you.
See you,
Excellent. Nice
Isaac.
week, buddy.
See ya.
Well, that might be us for tonight, Tony Chambers.
Excellent. So no, another stellar evening racing. Thanks to obviously Scotty and the team at SimSpeed there, and thanks to KartSport's usual sponsors, obviously Giltrap Group, Carter's Tyres. But big thanks for tonight and the coming weeks. Obviously, Brendan Gridley and the team at Tasman Karts there. So thanks for your support there, Brendan, and you'll be joining us next Tuesday night, no doubt.
Yeah, we'll jump on Discord next week and we're going to have a chat about the racing this weekend in Blenheim.
Excellent. Sounds good. So, no, great racing this evening, and we will see everyone next week at Spa, their team. Well done.
Thanks very much.
Cool. Evening.
Thank you.